All right, folks, if you thought the Fox Propaganda Network's complete lack of self-awareness could not get any more profound, just you wait until we unpack this like 2-minute long rant by Judge Jeanine Pirro on the 5. But before we unpack all that, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell. Maybe check out my Patreon. I'd appreciate the support. All right, folks, so we're going to do at least a couple of videos about the 5 today because, number one, we need to have our weekly tribute to the epic badass that is Jessica Tarlov. She is amazing. She's the lone liberal / progressive voice on the 5. Again, she's outnumbered 4v1. That should be the actual name of the show. And like Neo in the second and third Matrix, like Optimus Prime in the second Transformer movie, she's taken them all on. I mean, she is just a truly impressive debater. She more than holds her own. But we're actually not going to cover her per se in this video. We're actually going to turn our attention to one of her co-hosts, arguably the most deranged of her co-hosts, Judge Jeanine Pirro. So this is what she has to say in response to President Biden's recent trip to Maui in the aftermath of the wildfire, which devastated the western half of the island and killed at least 115 people. Brace yourselves, folks, and take it away, Your Honor.
That's the FEMA limit. This thing about the ground, the hot ground, he was talking to a dog whose paws are on the ground. It's not like he's saying to
what a guy talking about talking to a dog. Are you kidding me? This is a guy who goes to an inferno where 1,000 people and children are missing because they cannot get any idea. They have been so destroyed. There's no odontology reports. There's no fingerprints. There's no body frames. There's nothing. That's why they can't identify everyone. And he talks to a dog, and he talks about the fact that he almost lost a cat. Are you kidding?
So again, we did a video about this yesterday, and sorry, we're going to have to periodically interrupt, otherwise she's going to say so many crazy things that I won't remember them all in terms of refutation, so we're going to have to do this piecemeal. They're, of course, referring to the viral moment in which, as President Biden was expressing condolences and shaking the hands of first responders and other officials as well, there happened to be a service dog nearby, a service dog that goes out and tries to, identify corpses, basically, to try to find human remains. And the dog was nearby, and as President Biden was giving his condolences, he just reached down and petted the dog, right? And the Republican Party's official Twitter page, one of them, just went bananas over it and tried to make it a viral dunk on Biden. Impeach the president, he pets dogs. And now, of course, this is what Jeanine Pirro has to say. She's freaking out over it, even though, like, presenting that Biden petting a dog is the sum total of what he did in Maui. It's completely dishonest, and she's completely unhinged. But, again, take it away, Judge.
Kidding me? He almost lost a cat. Jill and I know what it's like to lose. This guy has been lying from the moment he came on the political scene. He has a lack of empathy. He is egocentric. He's got a condescending smirk whenever anybody asks him a question from the press. He's lying and he's narcissistic. And you know what?
So actually, let's just go ahead and stop there because she basically just repeats herself for the rest of for another minute and a half. But egotistical, lying, and narcissistic. This is really what I wanted to talk about. So the complete lack of self-awareness. Pirro, as well as her fellow co-hosts on that show, Gutfeld and Jesse Waters and Dana Perino, who's not in this particular episode, she was substituted by somebody else. They are all unapologetic supporters and water carriers for Donald Trump. They carried water for him for the length of his presidency. They made every excuse possible. Donald Trump, who, as far as I'm aware, I think it's like 37,000 documented lies, according to like the New York Times and Washington Post, who kept a regular track of it in his 4 years in office. A man who lied about everything from, elections, right? Big, major substantive lies, which could forever alter the course of American democracy, major substantive things. And also minor, silly things about his own fragile ego, like from day one, the respective size of President Obama's inaugural crowd versus his, even though we've seen the pictures side by side, and Trump's inaugural crowd was infinitesimal by comparison. But it's all about size and appellation and adjective and best ever, bigly, losers, winners. As we discussed in a previous video, this is how Trump's mind works, because despite pushing nearly 80 years old, he has the mind of a child, the mind of like a preteen or early teen video game, or somebody who just plays Fortnite all the time, and it's all about winners and losers, right? Whereas people tend to go out of that phrase or grow out of that phase. Donald Trump never did, and seems to have regressed totally. But it's so ironic that Judge Jeanine Pirro is railing against President Biden, who, by the way, doesn't have a spotless record of abject honesty. I'm not going to pretend that he does, right? Everybody lies. That was famously said by one of the great fictional characters in American media, Dr. Gregory House. Everybody lies. But the question is, to what extent and for what reason? Donald Trump is a category unto himself, a pathological liar par excellence, a malignant narcissist unlike anything that can ever be found by Joe Biden or any member of the Biden family or really any Democrat, right? President Biden is a man who, whether you like him or not, has suffered extraordinary loss in his life. Again, back in, like, I think it was the 70s, he lost his first wife and his daughter to a car accident. His eldest son, Beau Biden, died. Hunter Biden is an addict as well, who's lived a troubled life. This is a man that, despite all of his power and certainly privilege, he's also suffered enormous hardship, right? And so he's also famously a profoundly empathetic man, right? Even with all the things going on with Hunter, even though he's allowing the Justice Department to investigate his son and prosecute his son, he has not abandoned his son. There was the phone call that leaked a few years ago in which, again, Republicans were trying to dunk on President Biden. They're like, see, listen to this voicemail where this soy Biden, leaves a sincere voicemail for his son, Hunter, saying that he's worried about him and he needs to get help and that he loves him, right? This is how the Republican Party, in terms of its leadership and conservative thought leaders, this is how they think. But anyway, the irony is thick, and I thought you might enjoy it, that she is either performatively or sincerely ranting about Joe Biden being an egomaniac and narcissist and liar, while at the same time prostrating herself, like everyone else at Fox News, before the biggest narcissist, biggest liar, and biggest egomaniac of them all by far, Donald Trump.